Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. This is another episode of JAMS Football Power Rankings and more, and we're definitely bringing you more this week. I'm Kyle from the Titans.
And I'm Haarris from the VS.
Yes. And as we said last time, 2 bottom feeders, and we have lived to those expectations. How did you guys do your last game? I'm trying to remember.
We lost 7-6.
Okay. And that was against
Code Red.
Code Red. So, that's,
It's kind of respectable.
How many 7-6 games has Code Red won this year?
They've had a lot of low scoring wins, I guess.
Yeah, they definitely had one against Spartans.
I don't think they have many outright wins. They've had a lot of back and forth wins.
Yeah. But hey, they're still a team with a winning record, and they have made the playoffs. So anything can happen. Just look at Boonton from last year. They almost won the championship, and they were one of the last seeds in the playoffs.
I agree. All right.
So today it's definitely a little different.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I think we should actually start off with the power rankings first instead of our second segment.
Absolutely.
Because I think power rankings is just shorter.
Yeah, that's why we got you there, because you're so smart. Okay, so power rankings. Who do you got in one? By the way, we agreed on this. So,
I mean, this week there hasn't been much change. It's the final week of the season, or we're going into the final week of the season. We now have a stronger idea of what teams are good, what teams are bad, where their strengths, where their weaknesses. And they started off at number 1 beginning, and they're going to... Actually, no, they didn't start off at number 1, I'm sorry. But they did have a long stretch where they
in our mind, we had them when we did our first show.
Yeah, that was week 5. So yeah. It's the Union coming at number 1.
Yeah, and another shutout for them, which is, what is it, their 5th shutout of the year or something like that? I mean, against the Spartans, and the Spartans were playing tough. They were playing hard the past couple weeks, and it was something like 17-0. So, props to Union, and they beat some good teams. They did lose to Swag, but they beat the Canes. So beat the Canes in, good fashion. They made that game look easy, if you will. So Union at 1, and no debate there.
Number 2, it's Swag.
Yeah, and as we said before, very good team. They beat the Union, right? So, very good. Great receivers, good quarterback, made the All-Star game, solid on defense, just a good all-around team.
Did their running back make the All-Star game? I'm not sure.
He was in the discussion.
Okay.
He was highly considered. If there was a third running back to make the All-Star game, it would have been him.
So that's actually pretty good if you just look at the 2 All-Star wide receivers, an All-Star quarterback.
Could have been 3 All-Star receivers. I actually, was a part of the selection committee, and one of the things is you try to spread around. You try to get, if a player's making, the All-Star game on the defensive side of the ball, maybe you don't also vote for him on offense. And I was trying to say, Brandon Bowen or some other players who are making it on defense, maybe we can get another receiver in here. And I voted for Sean McAllister, receiver from Swag. He didn't make it, but arguably could have.
Okay, I'm just saying that they could have had all their skill positions in as All-Stars.
It's crazy to think of that. As you called them, the greatest show on turf.
JAMS turf, that is.
JAMS turf.
All right, so third is the Hurricanes.
Hurricanes. They had a lot of people in the All-Star game themselves. Been solid all year. Defending champions, And what happened when they played Swag? What was the score of that game?
I actually, to be honest, I don't remember who won. It's been a while.
I can't remember either. But nonetheless, they have 1 or 2 losses. I think it's 2 now, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they only have.
We don't have to check that, but nonetheless, Hurricanes very good, and I'm interested. I have to check that. So while I check that, you go on and you talk about who our 4 is.
Well, I'll just talk about the Canes real quick, or the top 3. Any of these 3 teams who win the championship.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge drop off between that tier and basically the rest of the league.
Yep.
They're just so talented. Those 2 teams, it's any given Sunday out there with those 3 teams.
Agree 100%. Okay, so the other loss came to Dime City. It was an 18-19 game.
Oh, yeah. How could we forget? That was just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken...
and that was at the last second, too. Right? Hurricane scored, then Dime City scored with 20 seconds left or something.
Yeah. Props to Dime City for that. And just to make sure, the Union has... They're 8-1, and Swag is also 8-1, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they're also 8-1. So that is why we have Hurricanes at 2, or excuse me, 3. behind the other two. But yeah, as you said before, a huge drop off between 3 and 4. But is it that huge of a drop off? Because, as we just said, Dime City beat the Hurricanes. So could you make the case then that there's a huge drop off between 4 and 5?
Yes, you could. I mean, we've been on the Dime City train since, I guess, week 5.
Yeah,
when
they
we
blew
first
both.
started
They
off.
blew both of us out, right? You guys played them close.
We played them close, but we played every team close except for like the Knights and the Spartans.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. We always like Dime City. They're a young team, up and comers, very active on the forums. Give us lots of praises. We give them some love back.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the similar thing with Union. When you think of Union, you think of team. When you think of Dime City, you also think of team, right? They're pre and post game. Everyone's riled. I mean, they're always getting people to show up on time. They pretty much have a starter for every. I mean, very few guys go both ways on that team, and and the people that do play both ways, they're usually not playing the entire game both ways. So it's like they pretty much have, one starter for one position, which is pretty amazing. And they seem very unified. People seem very content in the role. And let's go back. We were both skeptical. Casey at quarterback, but
And
he's played well.
They haven't lost with them at the helm.
They have not lost with, and they've just beat the defending champs. Right? They're consistently putting up 3 touchdowns a game. So. I mean, they beat teams that are making the playoffs. I mean, let's not forget, this is a first year with this team. So it's not like, he's gone into a situation where he's thrown to guys who know how to run routes in this league. Obviously, you know how to run routes in football in general, that's good. But this whole team has been through transition, so testament to them. And I voted for Casey for the All-Star, and he made it as an alternate. But hey, the way I looked at it was, you look at what he brings to the team. Carney very good, Highsmith also very good, but they also came into very good situations. Casey came into a team that had a losing record at the time when he took over the helm, and he's done nothing but win. So that's why I voted
not
for
only
him.
that, but I think he's probably one of the best captains around.
Yeah,
The team seems to follow him.
yeah, they do. Yeah, I can't agree with that. I can't disagree with that at all.
All right, so next up we have the Knights, another strong defensive team. We reiterated so many times that they're a young team, first year, and well, I'm running out of things to say about them.
Yeah, well, we have to say this because you brought this up to me. Change at quarterback.
Oh, of course. How did I forget? So apparently, rumors has it that they're switching up quarterbacks. Their old quarterback is out. Jeff Zutter is in.
Yeah, who's an all-star in his own right. Someone who we've shown love and praise for. I don't think there's very many people that look at that team and say he's not their best skill position player. Tremendous punt returner. We said that before. Returned a punt for a touchdown against you guys. Came this close to returning one against us.
And while this team is, we've always seen them as a team that's literally one quarterback away.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the quarterback that takes them to a promised land.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen other people being converted into quarterbacks before. Think of Brian Linden from the Gladiators. Think about what Gladiators did a couple of years ago with Rodney at the helm.
Rajab.
Ultimus, you put a skill position guy there and things can happen. You run the ball, it's certainly, but can he throw? That is the question. We'll see that going forward.
All right, at 6, we have the Gladiators.
Gladiators.
And we initially had a little bit of struggle. Yeah, Code Red has one more win against them, but we just thought that Gladiators were a better team. I don't know if they played each other yet.
They definitely.
I think they did, actually.
Almost positive that they did.
What was the outcome of that game?
And it might have even been in Code Red's favor. Let me check that out. It was a 7-6 win. I told you, Code Red's had a couple 7-6 wins.
Okay. Well, Gladiators do also seem like the kind of team that are in a lot of close games.
3 7-6 wins. 3.
I just think Gladiators have more talent along their offensive line.
I agree 100% about the offensive line talent, and one of the better offensive linemen for Code Red. He is lost for this season. His name is Tamer, and as we said before, props to him he finished the game. I mean, that was a game they had only 8 people, broke his hand or whatever it was, finished the game. So, you got to be tough to do that. And so, yeah, they're struggling a little bit on the offensive line. And not only that, but skill position is very comparable. Obviously, DeCandia, the receiver for Code Red, is very good. But Gladiators just added a stud who's played in 2 games. He plays this weekend, 3 games, playoff eligible. His name's Russo. He was a tremendous wrestler in high school. You know, he went to States as a wrestler. He was a good football player. I always remember reading about him in the paper. Played quarterback. They gave him a couple looks at quarterback. He had 2 interceptions against us last week, so that was a great addition. Hopefully he can be a player that's consistent for them.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I like to point out with the Gladiators, they had 2 all-star tight ends this year.
2 all-star tight ends, yeah.
And I from personal experience, I got shut down by number 9, Killican. He was their right side tight end. And Riga's been a good player for the past however so many years.
Yeah.
So, that would definitely...
You could argue that Khalid is the better blocker and Riga, maybe the better receiver. Certainly has more touchdowns this year. So, either way, they both can catch the ball, and you know they're both decent blockers at the very least. You know, so.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on, we have Code Red at 7. They just beat us 7-6, and I thought it was a game that could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Code Red, like I said, I think that they're a good team, have a decent nucleus, but they have attendance issues. You know, just having a conversation with Sammy this past weekend, you know, he was saying if we have 14 players show up to the game, you know, that's a lot. You know, so I mean, you need 10 minimum to field the team. So like, you know, what happens if a player goes down in any given game? So, and you know, they're a good team, punch the playoff ticket, but you know, certainly have some question marks going forward.
I do find it interesting, like, they did add 1 receiver last year, Moise Khan. He played with us on GPAC. I feel like he's underutilized on that team.
Yeah.
And this isn't happening just because, like, I haven't talked to Moise about this at all. But
one of them, you know, Tucky also believes the same thing. Tucky Khawaja, who's a good friend of Moise, also believes that he's underused.
Yeah, and we've seen how good he was. I voted, last year I was on the committee for the All-Star team. I selected him, and I think he also had 1 other vote, so... We're not the only ones who believe in him.
Yeah, Moise made plays. You know, he did. I remember that. Mm-hmm. Moise is one of the few people on GPAC that really brought it every week. Mm-hmm. You could say that. In fact, he actually played quarterback 1 game last year in one of GPAC's 2 wins. So he was 1-0 as a quarterback for GPAC. That's saying something.
All right, so after them, we have Boonton, who have shot up over the past few weeks.
Yep.
All to the addition of Shake.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing is, they're not lighting the world up on fire on offense. But the defense is stepping up. And if you read an interesting post, it was in the comments section of one of our power ranking videos from Hassan Hamdan. He said that it wasn't that Boonton's defense was playing bad. It was you know, inefficient offensive play, turnovers, and things like that was setting up the other team's offense in good field position. Mm-hmm. And that's what made the defense look worse than what it was.
Which makes sense, obviously. So... Imagine what this team would have been if they had a quarterback from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them go to the championship last year. Now, do I still think they're as good as that team, as how that team was playing at the end of the season? No, I don't. And by the way, I know that Nick is no longer on the team. They lost the guy, Rich, really big dude. He's no longer on the team. But they had a guy at the beginning of the season. His name is slipping my mind. But he's also a good pass rusher, and I did not see him in the game that we played. And African-American brother, I really can't remember his name, though. Oh, wait, you know what? It's Namdi. I remember Namdi Asamoah, that's how I remember him. I didn't see him. Is he still playing on the team? Because that guy's an effective pass rusher. And if he is, they need to get him on the field as well.
Well, it's last week of the season. There's not much else he could do.
Yeah. Okay, so... Then we have, after Boonton, we have Spartans.
Well, they beat us. Did they beat you?
We played them final game.
Okay.
So this week.
And according to you, it's a little bit of a rivalry game.
It is. In fact, our captain wanted to come on for the show and kind of hype up the game. And I told him, I said, you know, really? Like, you know, I mean, 2 teams that have like a combined total of like 4 wins or something?
Yep.
But anyway, you best believe that they're going to come and play hard, and you best believe that our guys are going to come to play hard. So nonetheless, it should be an interesting game at the very least.
And I like the Spartans a lot. I think they're a team that's better than what their record says it was. I don't really know, besides the quarterback, but I don't really know where else they struggled. They have a couple really good linemen. Personally, I thought, well, who doesn't know Tarik Makkaoui? He's been an All-Star center like a couple years in a row.
Yeah, he was a unanimous pick at center for the All-Star selection.
The other one is I don't.
You said his name was Ibrahim.
I think it's Ibrahim. I couldn't remember which. It's the Salavani brother, the one who's not hurt, and he's almost. I'd say he's just as good as Tarik. Actually, he's pretty close.
Okay.
So, either way, they can protect their quarterback. Our defensive line couldn't touch him.
Wow. And they also have a guy named Yezin, who he's a pretty big guy. He's about 230 himself, maybe about 6'1", 6'2". I remember a couple years ago he had about 12, 13, 14 sacks, something like that. So I'm not sure how good of an offensive blocker he is. You have to imagine he's at least decent. And defensively, he gives you something on the line. So they're a physical team, to say the least.
Moving on. This is where we ranked VS.
The underachievers. You guys, I think when the very first time that we did this, we had you guys at 4 in the power rankings.
Yeah, it wasn't just us. I remember Omar Abbassi had us pretty high. Ever since then, we just spiraled out of control, downwards, slowly.
You guys were 2-1. You played the Hurricanes tough. You beat Gamebreakers. You beat us.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just been loss after loss since then.
It's been a tough season. Unfortunately, I can't even play this last weekend. I have prior commitments. But we go up against Swag. Hopefully we could play them tough, put them on upset alert.
Yeah, they're going to be, because they want the 1 seed, so you know that they're going to come out and play hard, or, it's not like they're benching people. I don't know that people do that in JAMS anyway, but yeah, I mean, if you guys can go out and pull out a win, that would be something special. So, we'll see. And then after VS, we have my Titans, who we have 2 wins, 1 tie. Most impressive win was against Boonton. They had a full squad. They had Shake. Gave Boonton their only loss with Shake. But nonetheless, another awful performance against the Gladiators. Just offensive problems. What can you say? And we had a bit of an attendance issue. Me and my brother had to show up late to the game. But prior to us coming, we only had 9 people that could suit up. One of our guys forgets his jersey. Therefore, and that guy actually got to play. But then someone else had to sit out. We had to have a new center in. Someone who never played center before, snaps into the dirt. Wasn't good. So there's certainly talent there, but it just needs to get put together.
And then the most consistent team in the league, the Gamebreakers.
Most consistent. And they've been improving, but yes, they're consistent in the loss column. They've reeled off 8 straight losses now after their tie first week of the season against us.
They had a close game this past week.
Yeah, and I think they also went through a quarterback change, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it's number 7 anymore. The taller guy with the red beard. I don't think he's the quarterback anymore, even though he's a good position player. And I don't know if he even wanted to play quarterback because he was more of a runner.
Yeah, he seemed more like a skill position player anyway.
So I don't know if he's still playing, and maybe they're utilizing him at receiver. Not totally sure, but hey, and Sesam's game breaker. He has 12 picks now. He had a pick in the All-Star game. He's certainly good. Okay, so let's move on to the other segment of the show.
All right. So it's week 9. We're going into week 10. We figured it's just about time for regular season awards.
Yep. How about that? So let's start off with an MVP. Is it safe to say that a QB in this league has to be the MVP?
It's a QB-driven league. You can't really win with a running quarterback, especially if they can't throw.
Yeah.
You need to put up points to survive. That's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in agreement on this one. It's the number 1 team. This guy's been great ever since he's been here. It's Rajab Abbassi.
Yep. Not much else to say about that. He did not play in the All-Star game. Sad, we wanted to see him there. He was on my team, but he didn't play, but just very good player. You saw how valuable he was. Really, last year, Union goes undefeated in the regular season, blowouts all over the place. They get into the playoffs. They don't have him. They lose.
Mm-hmm.
And just look at what he's done this year, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then we have a non-QB offensive player of the year.
So I thought this guy, he has a really strong case. Top 5 in receptions, top 5 in yards, top 5 in touchdowns. It's Mr. DeLo himself.
Not only that, but he also calls the plays. All right? Most quarterbacks are the guys calling the plays. This is a wide receiver calling the plays. So, Yeah, so I have him there as well, and I had to give him some kind of major award because not only that, but he's also bringing it on the defensive side of the ball with 5 interceptions, which ties for second in the league. But I also had to give this to Mustafa Abbassi because, let's face it, he's got 9 receiving touchdowns. 9, which is 4 more. It's almost double what the second person has. So it was kind of, I couldn't leave him out of there. He's a really good receiver. I think my guys on our team in terms of, he definitely gave us the most fits. He had 2 receiving touchdowns against us. By and large, Aaron Wright, who's number 0 on our team, he really did a good job, shutting or slowing most people down this entire season. But Mustafa definitely gave him the most trouble.
My thing was with Mustafa is I like him. I like him a lot, actually. He just didn't have quite the statistical numbers as DLO.
But his yards were more than DLO.
He did have as many receptions, which I think gives DLO more value. And I don't think he has as many targets.
But you could argue that because he didn't have as much targets, because maybe DLO's
actually, I went down the switch, actually. Maybe Mustafa has more targets, but...
Well, we'll have to check that.
Either way.
It's certainly interesting to think. Again, this is debate who's the best receiver,
Hey, why wouldn't you force feed the ball to your best receiver? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the offensive player.
Put it this way, though. Let's think of it, because we're talking about, it's not MVP, but we're talking about what value a receiver brings to their team. Between receiver 1 and receiver 2 on Union, there's a big drop-off. Is there that big of a drop-off between receiver 1 and receiver 2 for swag?
So you're going to fault Union for not upgrading their team?
I'm not faulting
Or
Union.
faulting...
I'm not faulting swag either. I'm just saying, player of the year. I'm just saying, Mustafa, you can make a good, legitimate case for Mustafa. I'm just trying to say how good he has been. That offense runs through him and Rajab.
You could say that. Mustafa's probably top 3 receiver in this league, but I think just this year alone, it's been DLO.
Okay, and I'm not going to disagree. DLO's been very effective offensive and defensive side of the ball, and that's why I'm throwing that award up. I had to split it between the 2. All right, so defensive player of the year, who do you think?
Well, this guy, I went by numbers again. Top 5 in tackles. I think he has top 5 in picks.
Yeah, he's got 5 picks, 25 or about 25 tackles, if I'm not mistaken.
Union's second award, James Abdallah, defensive player of the year.
Technically 3rd award. Maybe 2nd for you.
It's my 2nd, yeah.
Okay, and certainly a very good case. I'm going with Omar Qatanani on this one, just because he's got 43 tackles, which is 10 above the 2nd most.
And this guy's 5'5".
Yeah, and this guy plays, he lays his heart on the line. He just had some spectacular tackles in the All-Star game. We're talking, he doesn't make this tackle, the guy's running in the end zone. So just made some tremendous tackles. Has an interception as well. Maybe the heart and soul of that defense. So I'm going to go with Omar Q, one of the bright spots on a team that definitely did not have the season that they had wanted. All right, so let's go on to the Rookie of the Year. First-year JAMS player.
All right, so a lot of thought came into this. Another thing that helps influence our opinion is who we thought was better than everyone else when we played against them. So I had a hard time deciding between these 2. So I can't say who's better, just because they do so many different things. So I have Jeff Zutter from the Knights, the wide receiver, now turning quarterback for them. And then I have Dylan Frank from Dime City. I'm just going to say offensive lineman because I've seen him move all over the place.
Yeah, played fullback. Dime City probably more than any other team likes to run the running back, and they would have him as the lead blocker.
So, and going up against him, that guy's a brick wall.
Yeah. I would say probably more, definitely gave the best block, when my brother played in 3 games this year, Dylan was, he would say, definitely the best lineman that he went up against. So, Dylan Frank, really good. So I cannot disagree with you there that that's a good pick. But for my Rookies of the Year, I'm also going to go with Jeff Zutter, just because he's giving it to you. Offensively, he's leading the team in receptions. Defensively, 5 picks. Special teams, really good punt return, maybe the best that we've seen in the league. So, I would go with him as maybe my offensive guy / flex guy. But Rookie of the Year defense, I'm going to go with, and I'm not sure if he pronounces it Ahmad or Ahmed Haarris. But yeah, this guy, you're talking 33 tackles, second in the league, 5 sacks, an interception, and he's also giving you stuff on offense as well. And he hustles. He's a football smart guy. He hustles. Just, if you have access to the Gladiators Dime City tape, Nick Cologne must think he's running into the end zone. No one's even close to him. And Ahmed Haarris comes and hawks him down. That's just a little glimpse of how hard this guy plays.
All right. So we've had basically skill position players at the first 3 or 4.
Yeah, first 4 awards.
So it's time to give the big guys some love.
Yeah.
We have offensive line, defensive line players of the years. And, well, offensive line, I guess I'll start off with this one. I said his name before in the power rankings. The best center in the league, unanimously, Tarik Makkaoui.
Yeah. And maybe I'm not valuing or maybe we as a league or people in general don't value the center enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to have clean snaps. And from what you're telling me, and he did actually in the All-Star game. I'm not sure if it was him or the quarterback, but they had a bad snap. They went for a QB sneak to take the lead on the goal line. Bad snap. Maybe Tarik was concerned about blocking me. I'm just kidding. Maybe he was concerned about blocking me, but anyway, the snap, or maybe how the snap was handled, wasn't bad, and they dropped it right there. But you're saying that his snaps, by and large, are really good.
His snaps are great. When he gets his hands on you, you're not getting off him.
Yeah.
He's a powerful guy.
Very physical. Very, very physical.
And he'll get his hands on you quick, so...
Yeah. I'm talking from a technique standpoint, what I've seen, one of the best. So I really can't disagree with you there. I also just, again, we want to spread the wealth, spread the love out here, so I went with Dylan Frank, and it's really a toss-up between the two.
Very similar players, too.
Yeah. I went against both of them this past week in the All-Star game, and they lined up next to one another. Certainly, both of them, very good, very physical. As a defensive lineman, you will like, going against that type of challenge.
All right, so that was the offensive line. For defensive line, I'll let you go first on this one.
All right, so defensive line, for me, I kind of went against, sometimes I lined up at guard, sometimes I lined up at left tackle. Definitely went against some good guys. And not that I necessarily went against him this year because he did not line up on my side, but I remember him from the All-Star game last year and previous years when I played. Dominick Russo from the Union. You look at the stats, he's been at the top for sacks, the entire season. He was top 5 in sacks last season. He's a good technique guy. He's got a good motor. So I would go with Dominick Russo for defensive lineman of the year.
All right, so I really tried hard not to be biased here. And I was looking at the sack list. I was looking at who had the most tackles. And none of those guys really impressed me. I thought that there were players there that I could consistently block one-on-one, or I have seen just kind of like luck into a few sacks. So I actually chose this guy right here, to my left, Kyle Smith, as my defensive lineman of the year. This guy gets doubled almost every other play. He gets the numbers. He gets tackles, sacks, everything. Creates pressure. And honestly, it's hard not to give it to you.
Oh,
Although I will say this. You're not the best defensive lineman on your team.
Hey, listen, I'm cool with that, actually.
As much of a paradox it is your bigger brother.
Hey, and I was trying to tell some of these guys in the All-Star committee, selection committee, that, listen, my brother's better than me. I know he only played in 3 games, but...
Yeah, you can't give it to a guy who's only played in less than a third of the season.
Yeah, and so that was tough, but nonetheless, I had to say how I felt about that. And definitely thank you very much for that. That was very nice of you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we hope you enjoyed the show.
Oh, wait, we've got one last segment.
Yeah.
Rapid fire pick 'em.
Yeah, where are we? How could we forget that?
All right, so it's week 10. We're going to make this one quick. Saturday morning, 8 a.m., Hurricanes versus Gladiators.
Hurricanes, Gladiators. I'm going to go with Hurricanes on that one.
Canes!
They're not going to make it 3 in a row. They know they need to go in the playoff with some momentum.
All right. 9:15, Swag versus us in a game that I will not be able to attend.
Yeah, and who's going to be playing center for you guys?
Good question.
Are snaps going to be hitting the dirt?
I mean, I do lead the league in safety, so I don't think they can touch me on that.
Okay, but it's just too much swag, too much offense.
Too much swag.
Too much swag.
Alright. Yeah. I'm not going to vote on that, but I'm rooting for my guys to pull the upset.
Okay.
Code Red versus Gamebreakers, and I believe that's the last game on Saturday, 10:30.
I really want Gamebreakers to get a win. But I got to go with Code Red.
Okay. I agree. There's not much left to be said.
Yeah.
Titans versus Spartans.
I'm not going to pick this one, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Battle of the bottom feeders. I think this is a question worth answering or asking. Is your brother showing up to this?
I'm not going to answer that.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna
Put it this way: he's come to the last two.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna do this same thing. He hasn't showed up in mathematically. It's 67% of the games. I'm gonna assume he's not gonna be there. Even if he is, I think I'm gonna go with Spartans on this one.
Okay.
They score more points than you guys do.
Have they scored more? I don't know about that.
Well, I'm just going off, I guess, our games.
Recently they have.
Okay. So, either way, you're going to be joining us in the 2-10 crew. Oh, well,
Hey, listen.
you're going to be 2-9-1. I'm sorry.
2-8-1. Let's get it right.
Oh, I can't do
If
math.
we both lose,
Neither of us can do
if
math.
we both lose this week,
Neither of us can do math. It would be 2-7-1. We're idiots.
2-7. Hey, listen. This is a power ranking show. This is not. Don't come here if you're trying to learn math. All right. Union versus Boonton.
Okay. Union got this. They're fighting for that number 1 seed. They're looking over their shoulder with Swag playing us. I think Union pulls it off.
I think so too. I just look at, listen, Boonton's been putting up about 6 points a week, even with Shake, on average. Yeah, maybe a little bit more on average. It's not going to be enough for Union. Union shut so many teams out this year. I just don't think that they're going to be able to score enough, and Union is always good for about 2 touchdowns a week. So,
All right. So, last game. I'm actually really excited
this
about
is a
this
good
game.
one. This is probably the matchup of the week. Would you disagree with that?
Definitely not. This is probably one of the better matchups. I'd put this over or on the same level as Hurricanes, Union, Swag. Basically, the 3 top teams playing each other.
You can consider this a primetime game of the JAMS League.
Oh yeah.
Because, hey, listen, it's the latest game, So many people have trouble waking up in JAMS to get to the field. This is 11 o'clock. You should be up for this one.
Knights versus Dime City.
Knights versus Dime City. New quarterback potentially for the Knights. First game. He's going against a defense that is solid. Team that is playing hard right now, coming off a big-time win. They're going to keep the momentum going Dime City.
I actually agree with you here. With the Zutter's move from quarterback to wide receiver, you're filling
Wide
that
receiver
void.
quarterback.
Oh, I'm sorry. The other way around. Yes, you're filling in that void at quarterback, but that's a big hole at wide
Yeah,
receiver.
is the quarterback, the former quarterback, is he playing receiver now, or is,
Is he even a good quarterback? That's also another thing.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, we know he's a good player, but can he run an offense?
I do like Josh Gordon. I give him love on the show before. I see him around campus all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I also like Omar Yusuf, but I just think Dime City is a more complete team right now.
Yeah.
From what we've seen so far, their offense has been putting up points.
They're a hotter team, and Knights really had a nice stretch where they won about 4 in a row, but they've lost 2 in a row, and they've scored 2 total points in those last 2 games.
That's pretty worrying.
Yeah.
But
So you're going against a good defense, Dime City. It's Dime City.
All right. Well, that's it for this week, this Thanksgiving weekend.
Yep.
I know it's been 2 weeks. I know you missed us. We missed you.
Yes, we certainly have, and we do think we've actually gotten some pretty good feedback from people saying that they're interested and it's engaging. Someone said that it's one of the things that they look forward to every week. So we're certainly very happy to hear that. So hey, listen, if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, share the video amongst share it on social media. Help kind of get it out there. I know it's for JAMS and. What person who doesn't belong to JAMS would really want to watch it, but so what? Share it anyway if you like it.
Any other closing thoughts?
No, other than just enjoy the time with the family this nice weekend. Be safe, and like I said before with the NFL show, don't eat too much. Don't stuff yourself. By the way, for the Muslims out there, it's the sunnah to one third for water or liquids, 1/3 for food, and 1/3 for air. So don't kill yourself on the food. Take it easy, but definitely enjoy it.
No, go on.
Anyway, with that being said, this is another episode of JAMS Football Power Rankings and more. I'm Kyle from the Titans.
I'm Haarris from VS.
And we'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.